My name is Vuvu and this is Vuvu Vena Reads. If you are new on here, please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below. But if you are a returnee, welcome back fam, and thank you so very much for tuning in. I've missed you guys so much, you have no idea. This is my first video of 2021, and last year I did kind of end it off a little bit abruptly because I was doing vlogmas on my other channel, which I will link up here in the cards. However, I'm back and it feels so good to be back. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to sit in a different environment for 2021, and I hope this now resonates better with my channel because this is a book channel, and previously I could only do the shooting in my room. Because I'm shooting in front of my in front of my bookshelf in the common living area. It means that I've asked my kids to go to their room and keep it down. Chances are they will not keep it down for long. You can already hear them playing and screaming because they are kids, so, and they're quite young, but I'll try and not ramble too much in this intro. As the title suggests, today I'm sharing with you how I traveled 9 countries in 2020. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? So this is what this video is about, and all in all, it's just the number of books that I read in the year 2020, written by authors from 9 different countries. And without any further ado, I'm gonna roll in my intro that I just created for you guys for this year. I'm so excited about it. It features the voice of Sarah. A lot of you might know Sarah as the curator of Books and Rhymes. That is a podcast that's available on all major podcast directories. I would advise that you do link up with her on that platform, any platform that's suitable to you, because she has pearls of interviews on there with such great African authors and authors from the African diaspora as well. She's excellent at what she does. She knows how to link good music with a good book, and that's something that is delectable, yes, but also I haven't come across that in any way actually, so I would suggest that you do that. And I'd just like to thank her on here in case she does come on here, to say thank you so very much for allowing me to use your voice, stemming from a live that you did last month. And hopefully this intro works. I tried my best to make sure that it does. And I also want to shout out Didi from Brown Girl Reading, or you guys might know her over on Instagram from the Read So Lit page. We did an interview last year as well on her page, and I've featured a little bit of that interview on here as well. And to all the media outlets that did feature me in 2020, I have included them there as well, and I'd just like to show you guys how grateful I am for that and for the recognition, because in times where a person thinks that this is not giving back as much as they're giving in, you guys have kept me alive, so thank you very much for that. And without any further ado, here's the intro.
So Vuvu Vena Reads is an amazing book reviewer, also YouTuber. She reviews books on YouTube, and if I'm not mistaken, she also has a blog as well. So please, if for your connection with literature, get in touch with or follow at VUVUVENA_reads. She is based in South Africa, and I think it is also extremely important to follow literary content creators who are based outside of the West and in continental Africa, because they do a really good job of bridging the gap.
We appreciate you, Vuvu, for bringing us Turning Pages and for bringing us your BookTube channel.
You know, this is a chance for people to actually see some people that I really enjoy.
Please consider pressing the red subscribe button down below, and if you're a returnee, welcome back fam.
Vuvu, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, let's get into the countries I traveled to in 2020. Okay, I'm being silly guys, I don't know why, because maybe I'm excited to be in front of the camera. Okay, so now that I've taken all of that energy out, I did group UK as like a country. Don't come for me, whatever. So that's where I'll start. And then the rest of, okay, that's where I'll start. Let me not explain too much. That's where I'll start. So one of the books that I did read from the UK that I don't have a physical copy of is the only book that I listened to via audio that I don't own a copy of last year, and that was The Flat Shade. It was suggested to me over on Instagram when I was looking for an easy romance to kind of get an understanding of the genre or get into the genre, because it's not something that I've explored much. And somebody suggested the Flat Share. I did listen to it via Audible. I will link it up here somewhere, and I really did enjoy it. Actually, it was quite good. It was quite quirky. It was narrated by two different people, because it is in two different points of views, and I really enjoyed how easy and, I want to say unconventional, but I don't really read romance, but I loved the love story there because it allowed for people to be human, if you get what I'm trying to say. And in their humanness, can you say that? In their humanness, they fell in love and didn't attempt to change each other, and I absolutely love that about that book. It is an Irish author. I do believe it's by her surname is O'Reilly. Now O'Reilly, I don't remember her first name, but Beth O'Leary, and apparently it got a good reception when it did launch. I want to say at the end of 2019, but I could be wrong. Let me not say things that I don't know, but I enjoyed that. The audio is absolutely something that you should visit if you don't want to get the hard copy. It is very, very, very great. The next book that I picked up is The Ultimate Guide to Working from Home by Grace Paul. This was sent to me by J-Ball Publishers, and by the time that I got it, we'd been on lockdown for quite a while, so it did have some good tips for somebody who needed to get into the rhythm of how to work from home and how to guide other people under their team that needed to work from home. However, I found that the one thing that I did take out from this book is how to navigate a situation where you are a mom and you've got children and you still need to work from home and they're on lockdown. So that really did help. But other than that, all the information that was on here was something that we had already grappled with and figured out ourselves. So this was the one book from the UK. So this is the UK pile, right? I did explain that. And then the other book that I read was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I never know how to pronounce her surname. Anyway, so this does not need any introduction. I read this book at least once a year. I know that it's new age gibberish for a lot of people, and that's how I felt about it. But last year it really did help me through some patch, especially during lockdown, and I had to control some of my thinking, some of my emotions, etc. about a lot of things. This really did come in handy, and so I'm basically going to make it my religion to read through it over and over each year, especially at the beginning of the year. I absolutely love it. It is not the be it and end all of manifestation or the culture of The Secret, which is the law of attraction. It's not the beat and end all, but I think it is a good introduction into that, and it really has helped me. And like I'm saying, I do understand people who feel like it's not enough, in the sense that it just scratches the surface, because I think that that was the purpose of this, was to alert you to the law of attraction, and then from then on you do your own investigation. I believe that's why I love this book, because it triggers that in me once again. So that's that. So that's book number 2. I hope you're counting. I read 40 books in 2020, so I might forget to count, but that's book number 2. From the UK, I read 8 books in total, so that's book number 2. And I was also getting into the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, which also it needs no introduction. I only read the first 2 books, first 2 being in the chronological order, in the order in which they suggest the story flows. So the first book that I read was The Magician's Nephew, and then I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So I'm going to continue the series this year. There are 7 books in total, and I did not quite enjoy The Magician's Nephew as much as I did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which probably is because that is the most famous of the lot, and I was a little bit familiar with the storyline. But C.S. Lewis's writing, especially for children, this is definitely something that I'm gonna hand down to my kids, and I cannot wait for the day that they discover Narnia. I really can't. So those are the other 2 books. This brings us to 4. And then I completed my Harry Potter what do you call it, series, the Harry Potter series. I completed it because I was on a mission in 2019 to read it and finish it, but I didn't. So I did finish it this year. The series, the Narnia as well as Harry Potter, I did read along with Audible, which really helped me to fast track that, because last year, if you were following me anyway, you'd see that I had an appetite for African literature and literature from the African diaspora. So I really did not want to lose touch with my diversity in terms of my palette for reading. At the same time, I didn't want it to slow me down in the discovery that I wanted to enter into. So that's why I chose to listen to and read along with Audible when it came to books that were not from African authors. So I read The Half-Blood Prince, let's start again. So I read The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows, which completed the Harry Potter series, which I absolutely love. I will be rereading it for, I guess, the rest of my life. I know the controversy around J.K. Rowling, and I admit that it is something that we should sit up and pay attention to. I know the controversy in some of the literature while you read it as you are older. There are some flaws in there that we cannot escape. However, I do still think that Harry Potter has a life of his own, or of its own as a collection, and I think that we need to allow room for that. I know that we cannot always separate the artist from the art, but I think that people are allowed to choose what they will consume and what they won't consume, and live with their own consciences for that. So I do not promote any of what JK has done and said, but I will tell you that Harry Potter has been one of those stories that has stuck with me for the longest time, and I cannot take that away from that collection of stories. That being said, I'm going to move now to the US of A. And from the USA, I read 5 books in the year 2020. The first one was Principles for Success by Ray Dalio. This one is the illustrated format for readers of all ages. I absolutely loved this. It was straightforward. It had some great pearls for living life, not just because you want to succeed, but for living life generally. And I love the fact that it was illustrated. It is one of those that I think you would want to pass on to your teenage children as well, to understand and navigate that life happens and how to make sure that you can overcome the happenings of life. I absolutely loved this, and obviously there are principles here that you can live on. And then before I make the pile full, I read The Bluest Eye by Mama Toni Morrison. I love this woman, guys. If you guys don't know that yet about me, you know now. I love Toni Morrison, and for me, she can do no wrong. She tackles the subjects of identity, black identity more specifically. She loves the subject of colorism, and how she navigates or explores it is something that I absolutely love. Now, this one I picked up as part of the Azania book club that I'm in with a bunch of other book lovers from across the continent, mainly from South Africa. We did this as our read for December, and I'm glad to have added it to my collection because child, my collections are that side, because I still need to grow. I think I'm 5 books away from my complete collection of Toni Morrison's novels, and yes, absolutely loved this one. Then my other love affair is Mama Alice Walker. I love her writing. I love the stories that she explores. I love her thought process. I fell in love with her when I read her collection of essays called In Search of Our Mother's Gardens. I've never looked back ever since. She's an absolute gem. And I had not read The Color Purple, even though I had watched the movie. So The Color Purple is what we picked up. This was part of another book club that we are not active on anymore, but we picked this up at the beginning of 2020, and I absolutely adored the story being told in the manner that it was. And it's also a story about belonging. I love the explorations of different human, like the diversity of being human, not even about race, of being human, and how we navigate love in our diversity. I love that, and this was a special story. This was a special story due to that, and also about other things that were explored here. It was sad, it was captivating, it was just a gem. I will tell you though that it was not my favorite book by Alice Walker. I know it might be controversial, but it's still up there because she's up there. All right, then I picked up Max and the Midnight by by Lincoln Pierce. This was sent to me by Pan Macmillan Kids for review purposes. Absolutely loved this. I read this with my kids. It was funny, the satire, the jokes, as well as the illustrations. It is an illustrated novel. I absolutely adored this. It was fun. It was a fun book, and I think that fun books should obviously be part of one's collection, and they're not part of mine. And I think this is what that taught me. I loved it. I read it at the beginning of lockdown actually, and it got me to laugh and smile a bit, and I read some portions of it to my kids, and they absolutely loved it. It has a twist in here which I will not tell you about. If you are interested in the book though, do pick it up. It's quite worth your while. Now honey, if you were not listening, you need to dial up the volume, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you about a book that tore me apart and in a weird way put me back together again, right? And this is Xoxo Lemon. Now Marina from Young, Gifted and Black tried to get me to pronounce this name, so I hope I did it justice. Xoxo Lemon's Heavy. This is a memoir. You know, I really do think that it's people who have experienced life in a certain way that can capture us in the way that he does in a memoir. Like, let's leave aside the fact that he is talented to the skies and beyond when it comes to the art form of writing. This man can write, okay? This man can write. Like, you sit there and you literally drool on the page just because of his writing. The story is sad, but you are actually salivating because, wow, the construction of the sentences, the thought in the actual page, the paragraphs, the punctuation marks. I mean, for goodness sake, like, excuse me. And then there's the story. The story, like I'm saying, is a story so devastatingly sad that you can't cry. I didn't cry throughout this book, but I was so sad as I read this book. And for somebody to open up and share that much of their life with you in something that will never be destroyed is something really, really special, because you have to be so secure in yourself to be able to be that vulnerable. If you have not picked up Heavy, and for me it doesn't matter what year you pick it up, because I do feel like books are timeless, so whenever you pick it up, it's always going to be the right time for you to pick it up. But if you have not picked it up, girl, bro, don't sleep on yourself. That's the 5 books that I picked up from the US of A. Now I'm gonna pick up the 111 countries that because I've already done 2 countries, so I'm gonna 2 countries and I do this, wow. Because I want to say to you, there are 4 books that I have from 4 different countries that I want to pick up now. And the first one is from Lebanon, and this is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. Obviously this is a non-fiction book. This is a book that was published, I want to tell you because it's an old book, 1983. So I first came across this title while I was listening to Robin Sharma's podcast, and he said this book had influenced him a lot. I searched high and low, it sold out on Take-A-Lot, etc, etc, and eventually I called Reader's Warehouse and they managed to order a copy for me. Now I think that certain books need to be read in a certain season in your life. When I did read this book, I don't think I was ready for it, but I loved how poetic and how parabolesque, I think I can say that it was, because it means that through storytelling you get some nuggets to live your life through. So he used a lot of, do I say anecdotes? Guys, I don't know where my English is today, but he uses a lot of story format to bring you the principle, and I love that because it allows the reader to think. Like I'm saying, this is one that I'm gonna have to revisit again because I don't fully believe that I was ready for it when I picked it up, and it is quite thin, but it took me a while to read it because I think I was trying to suck in as much of it as I could. But that said, if you have heard of it or if you own it, do let me know in the comment section down below how you found it. But that was the one book from Lebanon. The other book is by an author from Israel that you guys love. You've heard of her, I'm pretty sure, and that's Leah Badugo, and I read Wonder Woman War Berenga. I absolutely loved it. It had the makings of a great story. I have nothing more to say. You guys know Leah Badugo. This book has been doing the rounds on Bookstagram as well as on BookTube for years, and I finally got to read my copy, and this was my introduction to Leah Badugo. I absolutely love how her craftsmanship in telling stories is something that I really like. I do own some parts of her Grisha series, I think that's what it's called. Okay, Grisha series, and I think I'll get into those this year. But that's that from Israel. And then we got something from Ethiopia, and that is The Shadow King by Maza Mengesti. If you are not aware, I do have a book club that I run through Facebook. That's the Vuvu Vena Reads book club, and this was our, I want to say September, October, September pick. But it also coincided with the Azania book club pick, so I read this for 2 book clubs. Absolutely love what Maza Mengesti did here with the woman in this story. I did have difficulty reading this, so I did read along with Audible because I think it's just how the writing style and the way in which she was showing off her talent on the page, it made it a little bit difficult for me. But the story itself is a gem, and it's one worth revisiting as well, especially if you are a black female child of the African continent. This will really resonate with you. I absolutely loved it. And then the last country in the 4 is Jamaica. It was my first time reading from the Caribbean, and I picked up Patsy by Nicole Dennis Ben, which was a book club selection from the Azania book club. Those girls and guy keep putting me on. They keep putting me on. I read Patsy. It was a little bit frustrating for me for different reasons. However, I think the one main thing is that I did feel like it could have been 2 different stories being told here, and it would have had the same effect, but it doesn't take away from the brilliance of the story that was being told by Nicole Dennis Nicole Dennis Ben in this. And I like I'm saying, because of that I struggled with it, but it was a good read nonetheless. So that brings to 17, I want to say 17, the number of books so far. Then I will tell you about another country that I absolutely loved reading from in 2020, and that's Zimbabwe. I'm joking, it's Zimbabwe, guys, please. It's Zimbabwe. And first of all, I'd like to shout out Sunyati for bringing it for me in 2020. Absolutely love her writing, absolutely love her execution. She was a great discovery for me, an absolute gem. Like, I fell in love, and as a result my heart is a little bit panicky because I might not have anything from her in 2021 because she did release a book last year, towards the end of last year. However, my first book that I read from her is The Polygamist, which is her first book, which is her debut, that's what I mean. But I lent it to my little sister, so I don't have it on here, but I will insert it over there, okay honey? And we all know the stress and strain of Jonasi and his wives. We do not need to delve into that, but that's where I fell in love with this woman's craftsmanship. She is a bringer of scandal. She can bring scandal also and then execute. So I did consume all of Sunyati's books in 2020 and I have no regrets. I then picked up her second book, her sophomore offering, which is The Gold Diggers, and this was really hyped up by Marina from Young, Gifted and Black when she did read it in 2019, I want to say, or 18, and this was sent to me for review purposes by Pan Macmillan South Africa. Absolutely loved it. She continued to break my heart, but I absolutely loved it. That's psychotic, I know, but it was great. And then Pan Macmillan also sent me a copy of her last novel, which is A Family Affair. This was a buddy read selection with a bunch of other bookstagrammers that I made through out the year, and we read this in December. Absolutely loved it. And out of Sunyati's books, however, my favorite still remains The Polygamist, and I think followed by The Gold Diggers, and this is my third best book from her. But this book is quite thick, as you can see, and it explores such important elements for young Black women navigating life as a daughter and as a romantic partner. So I really do believe that it's something that you should pay attention to if you haven't yet. And then the last book from Zimbabwe that I picked up was House of Stone by Novuyo Rosa Chuma, and you can guess, yes, it was a Nazania Book Club selection, and I loved the story. Yes, the narrator is a bit wishy-washy, unreliable, and I think I'm going to seek out unreliable narrators in 2021, because there was something there that kept me going, even though I was like, child. And it's also like one of those psycho thriller mind things, and it grapples with some of Zimbabwe's history while at it, and for you to be able to do all that in a book is something very special. I absolutely loved what Novuyo Rosa Chuma did with this book. So that is the fourth book from Zimbabwe that I read. I'm no longer counting, right? But if I can, off the top of my head, I think that's 21 books. I hope so, because then it will stop making sense if it isn't. So let me not count anymore. And let's go to the Nigeria was 7 hit in 2020 on my reading list. Listen to me if you have not heard me yet. Right, I don't care how tired you are about the hype on African writers from Nigeria. You are not yet tired if you have not consumed as much as you can, and if you do not plan to consume more, because, dear child, those people can write, okay? They can tell a story. Don't sleep on yourself because you think it's too hyped up. Don't do that to yourself. Pick up the books, read them. You will not regret a thing. A thing. Let's start with the non-fiction, because, child, it's not my thing. But and I already know you guys are also fighting with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and like I said with JK, I'm not here for the politics. I'm just here to talk about the books. So I picked up Dear Ejiwele by or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I agreed with some of her points. I didn't agree with some of her points, but that's the point, I guess, of books of this nature. It does not mean that you should be captured and not think for yourself. So it was quite a short read for me, and I have nothing more to say about it. And then let's see, let's start with this. So I reread Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone. Loved it all over again. I first read it in 2018. I reread it last year. It was absolutely beautiful. There was nothing else I could fault. I loved the story. I loved the positioning of Black women. I loved the positioning of Black girls. I loved the element of power being reinstated into Black people. I love what she does with this story. So I was a little bit disappointed when I read this as a buddy read with two other bookstagrammers at the beginning of the year. This is the sequel to Children of Blood and Bone, which is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, which I had been looking forward to. And this was sent to me for review purposes by Pan Macmillan South Africa. I really did not like what she did with the story in the second book. My heart is so I don't know how else to explain it, but I did show you guys in a vlog I did last year, and I did give you a little bit of my thoughts on it, so do look for it. But those are the 2 other books that I got from Nigeria. And then the Azania book club put me on to what it means when a man what it means when a man falls from the sky, by Leslie Nika Arima. This is a collection of short stories. Dear child, darling child, if you see this in any bookstore and you are carrying your very last 215, I got it for 215 rand at Bargain Books, and you don't know what you're gonna eat tomorrow or the day after, buy the book. That's all I have to say to you. Just buy the book. You will have absolutely no regrets. This was so beautiful. This is her debut offering. I don't think she's got anything else out yet, which is she's depriving us. But akunandaba, we will wait for Leslie to be ready to give us something, because I'm pretty sure whatever she does after this is gonna blow our minds. This was brilliant. Also picked up My Sister, the Serial Killer, from Nigerian author Oyinkan Braithwaite. This is also a debut novel by her. I did do a review on this channel, so you can look out for that. Another love. I told you Nigeria was a love affair last year. And then I picked up The Fisherman debut novel by Nigerian author Chigozie Obiama, and he was gracious enough to indulge me in a live interview that was on this channel. So if you haven't seen that yet, please do look out for it down below, or rather on the playlist in this channel. And we discussed this, which is his debut, which was shortlisted for the Booker Prize. His second book was also shortlisted for the Booker Prize. That's an orchestra of minorities, and this was great, man. I absolutely loved what he did with this book. If you have not read the book, please read the book before you watch the live discussion with him. But this was something special. I absolutely loved this. This was a book club pick for my book club, the Vuvu Vena Reads book club. This was the last book of 2020, and I want to say it was the November or the October pick, but and it was the last one. Okay. And then my favorite book of 2020 is it, well, book, not collection of books. So my favorite book of 2020 came from Nigeria. This is Another Udala Trees by Chinelo Okparanta. My goodness, this was my first proper introduction to queer literature. The execution, the setting, the fact that it was black love, I'll say that for you guys, that we were navigating on here in a climate that was so volatile, and the manner in which she told the story. Guys, pick the book up, okay? Pick it up, you'll understand what I mean. And recently I enjoyed a live discussion by 2 booktubers, which is Mbali, what is your handle? Because YouTube is still not allowing me to link people, but I think she's Books and Looks, or Books as Looks, but you find her on IG as well as Offense. I think she's Fence on BookTube. They also did a live discussion on this book, and they hit quite good points, which I found to be quite an experience when other people experience the book in the same way that you do. I don't know how else to explain that, but this was really something. Really something. So that's all from Nigeria, and I've saved the best for last because I'm coming to South Africa. So I'll save the best for last, like my most favorite experience of South Africa this year, that I'll save for last. So let me pick up this book. This is the Timekeepers series, book 1, Nandi Goes to Egypt. It's a children's book by author Sizile Ndlazi. She reached out to me. She sent me this book last year to read and review. I absolutely love what she's doing with this. I did have other pointers when I did talk about the book that probably needed a little bit of fine-tuning. However, she's onto something here, and it is definitely a story that I will keep on my kids' bookshelf because they can see somebody that looks like them. And I think representation is not something that our children should struggle with when it comes to literature. So when we have the power to curate books for them, I think that we really need to look for books in which they will see themselves in as well. And for that, this was very well done by her. I absolutely love that. And then I was sent Into the Sun by Takalane M by NB Publishers for review purposes. I did do a review of this book here on this channel, so do please look out for that. And yeah. And then Yellow Bone by Ekau Duka was also sent to me by NB Publishers for review purposes. This one I did a live with Ekau because this was our first book in the Vuvu Vena Reads book club, and he was gracious enough to accept my invitation for a live. And oh man, it was such a nice discussion, so humble, so open and forthcoming. I absolutely loved that. It is down here. I'm assuming you are on my video list. It is on my video list as well, that live, if you are interested and you have read some of his books or this book. And then NB Publishers also sent me Nick Mhlongo's collection of books, and the first one, his debut, was Dog Eat Dog. I did read this last year, and I, for various reasons, was not too happy with the book, but I did pin that on my personal reasons as well, because I have not read fiction from Nick Mhlongo. So I don't know if it's his style of writing or if it was me and the subjects that were explored on here. I did review this book on this channel as well, so if you want to know a little bit more about how I felt about that, please do look for it on the video list as well. I've stopped counting, but we'll get to 40 soon, okay? And Jonathan Ball Publishers sent me Black Text, a collection of essays edited by Nick Mhlongo. Yeah, so it's got a number of great authors from South Africa on here. I loved this collection a lot, actually, because I think that the kind of stories that were being told on here required a level of vulnerability, and I think when you are vulnerable, you do bring out the best in yourself. I really do believe that. And some of it also brought me more awareness into the parts of African living that you might not have been aware of for whatever reasons, and I think for that I am highly grateful to this collection. It is something that I will refer back to from time to time. And yeah. And then NB Publishers sent me a copy of Sing Down the Stars by Nerine Dorman. I did do a review of this one here on this channel, so if you have not seen it yet, please do go out and look for it on the video list. I did actually love this. I love sci-fi, but I don't explore it as much as I should. I love anything that is in an alternate reality. I love YA for the mere fact that some of the worlds that exist, or most of the worlds that exist in YA fiction, are created and are not really this world that we navigate. And for all those reasons, and for the fact that she has an outcast making it in the story, those are beats that make this work for me. Thank you. And then Jonathan Ball Publishers did send me Coconut Kel's Guide to Surviving the Shithole by Lesego Nklabi for review purposes. This I did read at the start of lockdown. It was entertaining, but I don't think that my humor levels are at this level. I say this because I'm somebody who even struggles with stand-up comedy, so this is not a reflection on Coconut Kel's at all. It's just, it's me, so it was not ideal for me. However, I do really think that she uses satire to tackle some really important topics on the South African climate in general. So if you are somebody who's curious about how it is to be a millennial black person in South Africa, this should assist you a lot. And then in 2018, I want to say, Pan, guys, I'm so confused with life. It must be Pan Macmillan. Before we get it exactly, Pan Macmillan South Africa send me a copy of Intruders by Mohale Moshego, which is her second offering after The Yearning, of which I've read both for review purposes. This is a collection of short stories, and it really helped me kickstart my reading in 2020. It was a reread, by the way, and once again, it was something that I absolutely loved, because as you can see, for the same reasons why I loved Sing Down the Stars is why I loved this collection of stories. I have done a review on this on my podcast as well as on my blog, so if you are not yet following me on those platforms, please do yourself a favor and go over there and you'll hear what my thoughts were on this. And now, guys, have you ever read somebody that you underestimated when you started off, because you are like, oh my gosh, let's see where this goes, oh, she could have done this better, oh my god, what is she doing? And then she comes out of the woodworks and blows your mind? Have you? Ciao. Dudu Busani Dube did a number on me in 2020. She's still doing that number on me in 2021. Guys, I'm more than obsessed. I don't know what to call the situation I find myself in, because it is not a place I had thought I would be. I'm humbled, and I have eaten my humble pie, because when I first read Hlomo the Wife, which is the first book in the Hlomo series, I had major critique about the grammar in here, and I still do critique it because my copy is still flawed with a lot of grammatical errors. No? Now let me first tell you, now and forever, I'm still buddy reading the series with Bookish Nontle as well as Bogamuso. It has brought us closer than close, if you want to understand just the power of these books. Okay, so when I was reading this, I was like, come on, because you know, you always root for people who are like you. So I'm always rooting for black women. I want excellence. I want us to blow things out of the ballpark, right? So when I don't see that and I see it's something that can be fixed, I really get very edgy, and I'm like, no, don't do this. And then they should not turn around and still tell a great story, grammatical errors and all. By the time I was like, here, I was like, and this was my second time reading this, right? Because this started off as a blog some years ago, and so it was my second time reading this, but first time reading it in book format. So by that time I was like, oh, how many pages left? Okay, what's the next chapter ending, and what's the time? Can I squeeze in 2 more? Listen, I was hooked. So it's no wonder that came Zandile, then came Naledi His Love, which is everybody's favorite in the series, but my favorite so far is Ikunga, which is the 4th book in the series, which she released last year. And I'm currently reading a mess. The reason why I'm saying a mess is because of what I'm going to say next, but I'm currently reading Mess, and is a mess. Wow. But anyway, so this was my favorite book in the series so far. Mess is getting there, but nothing compares to this because of the contextualization and the craftsmanship that she's brought. When you see an author growing, this is why I love reading authors that I can read from the start, like from the debut, and then build up, because when you see the evident growth in craftsmanships, in deliveries, in executions, in she'll play with your mind as well as your emotions, this Dudu person, right? When you see that improving with each and every book, I dare you not to fall in love with the author. I dare you to say, I still don't like this author. Dudu, wake up, guys. If you have not yet gotten a hand, if you have not yet gotten your hands on these books, do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor, because you will be captured by the Zulu brothers and their wives and their scandalous lives. You will definitely not regret it. In fact, I'm surprised that whatever Netflix, Showmax, whoever is actually not grabbing. Maybe they are. I'm not. Maybe I should take that back, because I'm really not there with that kind of news. But I'm really hoping somebody's awake. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And for you having stayed up until now, thank you so very much. Those are all the books that I read in, I almost said January, what a big fat lie. Those are all the books that I read in 2020, and that is 40 books in total from 9 different countries associated with where the authors originate from. I trust you enjoyed this collection as much as I did. 2020 was a great reading year for me, and my kids are tired of this now. So thank you for tuning in and spending your data on me. Iana, what's wrong? Thank you so very much for tuning in, and until next time, I love you very much for choosing me. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.